Ow.
This tool should be on the list of every at-home fabricator. I think you're gonna like this video. Welcome back to the channel. And if you guys are fabricators or builders or work from home, there's a lot of things that we have to make ourselves. And then there's a lot of things also that it's actually cheaper, if you can wait for it, to just order the parts and then let them sit on the shelf when you need them. Because there's always a fine line of what's worth your time to make and what you can already have made. The problem I have a lot of times is I am working in late nights, late hours, and I need something now, and I can't wait for it to come in the mail. And that's why I ordered one of these bad boys. Spare wood. Dun, 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 dun. Bam. So ever since I was at my buddy Graham's house in Oregon, we cut some pieces on his plasma table and it was absolutely amazing. The problem is they are extremely expensive. Now I've looked into some cheap models that don't seem to work very well, that like the reviews are very mixed. And then I've looked at the very expensive models that are just insanely priced. Pound for pound, this Versa Cut 4x4 table seems to have the best reviews and give you the best quality, top-end quality at a much lower price. And because I have the Eastwood affiliate link, I got 10% off using the code ColtBuilds10. Also add a link to this thing in the description, and I'll pin it in the comments as well, so you can go right to it and see what I'm talking about. I have literally put nothing in this corner since we put this shop together, because I wanted one of two things. I either wanted to try to find a plasma table or I wanted a tire machine. And the reality is I'm gonna use this thing 100,000 times more than a tire machine. It's got some silicone even. How about that? Man, look at that fancy stuff. Don't eat the silica gel. Oops. Look at how nice everything is packed in here. Man, wish I was this organized. Look at all of this stuff. Man, oh man. Look who decided to join me today.
I'm excited.
Without reading the instructions at all, I know that these two stainless pieces of table go together some way or another. And I know that those wheels are gonna go on these legs. That's about it. So that's where we're gonna start, because reading is for dummies. I don't know.
And for women, because we read.
It's probably why she deals with the bank account and stuff, because she's smart. Pretty solid casters, which is good. And every one of them has a wheel lock, which is a plus too. Looking at the picture, because I don't want to read yet, these ones go in here at the bottom. They're just simple little bolts. It's a 10mm nut and a 5mm Allen head. We'll put these in real fast, and that'll get us into the next step. All right, now while we hook these together, I'm gonna put us on the infamous time lapse. So glad we put the wheels on first. Just like that. These are the gantry bracing, so it just goes through the holes here that are already pre-cut. Just come on through. Oh, you went in the bottom one first?
I tricked you.
Yes, you did. Starts on the top over there, starts on the bottom over here. That's what it's like working with your wife.
I gotta keep them guessing. It makes life fun.
So these pre-mounted pieces just set up in here. The hole slides over the original bolt, and then you got 3 new bolts that are just already screwed in, and then you take this off and screw it in here, just like this. So while all these other bolts that go here are still the 5mm Allen, these two right here are actually a 6mm. So you just gotta take it off and then put it in, but pretty straightforward. We just gotta toss it together. All right, so you can see this slides back in here and then just goes inside the already pre-cut notch. Super tough. So the nice thing about these bolts is that the plate is already threaded, so I don't even have to worry about finding a nut. I just can put it in here and thread it right into the leg. Pretty easy. So now that we have our guides on, we need to get our rollers on here. And by doing that, I got to take a 2.5 millimeter Allen. What I've learned so far is you need to carry a lot of metric Allens to be able to do this kit. But we'll take this off, we'll roll these on, and we'll get them on there.
Get on there, little roller. Oh, there we go. Ta-da.
So it's pretty self-explanatory to do the same to the other side, but one thing I learned with that one is if you pull the little rubber cap off first, it makes it a lot easier because this thing hangs down a lot lower than it needs to be. One of these sides has a bunch of female plugs in it, and then the other one has just a singular plug and then two separates. Now, this unit here needs to go on a certain way. You do actually have to have this going up where it connects on the correct side. This thing is a little bit awkward to hold too. So I just messed up. That's what I get for just looking at pictures. But you can see here this gear comes all the way out to the post on this side, and it comes way short over here. Well, the gear on these is on the back side, so that's why it runs all the way back up on here. So we need to take these caps off and flip this whole unit and then slide it back on. Right now, when the laser's here, it's gonna run out of room rolling up. I won't be able to cut any farther because it'll come off the gear. Just gotta take it off, flip it. Well, we opened up the bags. This kit even comes with Allens and the 10 millimeter you need, so you don't even have to use your own stuff. Eastwood supplies everything. You just got to, look at stuff, I guess.
I found it.
So everything here is kind of your standard style PLC type cord. It has notches, so you know how to turn it, and then you just lock it in. It just locks in. So you see these little notches here. There's little notches inside the female end of the plug. You set it in, and it's locked in. So the next thing we gotta put in is these little stopper brackets. And all this is for is so that when you have your X and Y axes, it knows where to stop. It hits the little wheel here and it stops. So this thing said, mount this at the front right of the unit. In the picture, it looks like there's the box here with these in the backdrop. So this looks like the front right to me. The plasma cutter torch is gonna be right there. So I'm calling that good. Oh yeah. Now we're getting somewhere, look at that. Now we can install our torch tip tool, which basically just holds the torch. I do like that it gives you a warning, don't touch the torch while it's working, because yeah, it just might burn your finger, maybe. And this is pretty straightforward. I just gotta find the little notch. There we go. Then this one. Just thread them down. That was easy. So we got our power unit box mounted up. Now we just got to hook all the cords up for this, which is pretty much straightforward. Like I said, you can't crisscross them because all the plugs are designed a certain way for a certain unit. Yeah, it's pretty much that simple. So I just got to hook everything up, one to the other, and we'll be good. This one goes to the torch. Onto the table. Love the fact that this is a stainless table too. That's pretty nice. Like a glove. This thing has a couple little plates here. They just go on the outside of the seam, just like that. And then it comes with a silicone barrier, and it came with silicone. So we're gonna go ahead, I'm just gonna go ahead and silicone the bolts, and we'll put this thing in and we should be good. Even though this thing comes with a silicone seal that goes in between the two connections, it also comes with all of this. I didn't have to buy any of this stuff. And I'm gonna go ahead and just seal up all around here, and then we'll put this piece in the middle and then slap it together. All right. I just gotta put it together. All right, so what I did here is Shanna held that side, got a couple of bolts started, and then put the two bolts in on this side. And that way, now all the holes are lining up pretty easily. All right, now we can set all of our supplied steel pieces in for this, we'll be in pretty darn good shape. Once we get all these in, then we're gonna set up the plasma cutter. Cool. You know what's awesome too is once these start wearing down, you know, when you've been plasma cutting through them and stuff, I can make more of these with the same tool. So now it's all ready to go minus the plasma cutter. Now I went ahead and got the Eastwood plasma cutter for the Versa Cut, but here's a cool thing. If you already own a plasma cutter and you want to make it fit to this table, you know, there's cheaper versions out there that say, you know, they can use any plasma cutter. Well, so can this. See, this thing right here, you can actually rotate at any angle you want, this way or this way. It's on a double axis so that you can put a regular handheld torch in here if you wanted to do that. Me, on the other hand, I want to keep my singular plasma cutter to do my singular plasma cut things, and I want to keep the table on its own. So that's why I chose to step up to this one separately. But if you have a plasma cutter and you only have the money for the table, I would do this one over any other one in this price range. My personal opinion is this thing is 1,000 times better than all the other ones that are in its price range and equal to ones that are twice its price. With these tables, you just have your plasma cutter sitting down next to it, but I want to be able to actually put that plasma cutter underneath it. That way I can roll this around where I need it. And to do that, I'm just going to build some really rudimentary shelving for here with this. Box. Half a shelf. So I went ahead and measured underneath here. It's 53 1/4 both ways. So I'm gonna do 53 inches both ways, but I'm doing 2 half pieces at 26 1/2. That way I can just slide in the shelf and then slide in the other shelf without having too many issues. Now I got this tacked together, all I need to do is measure diagonally so that we know we can get a square. So even though I have these magnetic squares here, it is not perfect. There's out about 1/4 inch or so I want to just adjust it accordingly and then get it right. 7/8, that's too much, I think. Yeah, right there. Okay, that'll get us close. This is fun to do by yourself. 59 1/2. That's a lot closer to square than it was. I call that pretty good. 59 3/8, 59 1/2. Now I got squared within 1/8 of an inch, which is pretty close. I mean, actually I think I got it within about a 1/16. Now we can go ahead and burn this in. I'll just step on it, make sure that it stays flat on the concrete. I think we'll be good. I went with 16 gauge 1x1 box to make this thing nice and lightweight. All right, we now have one, and I made the fatal mistake of never even testing it, but we'll test it now. Would you look at that? Bam. Sweet. Da, 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 da. Oh yeah. Perfect. That's gonna be great. Okay, reading through the instructions here, it says I need to pull this cover off, and there is a 150 mode and a 1.0 mode basically. So I need to pull it out of the 1.5 mode and put it into 1-to-1 mode. I gotta tell you guys, I am super stoked here. I've been wanting to learn how to do like CAD and CNC stuff for a long time. So this has me pretty darn amped. There you we go. Get a flashlight so we can see what we're doing.
Oh, see, it's labeled wrong. Right here it says 50-to-1 arc output. We need to go 1-to-1 arc output. So we just need to unbolt these and then put them in these little spots here. Obviously, you want to make sure nothing's plugged in when you're doing this, but easy enough. And you just want to make sure you match minus, plus, obviously, negative and positive to negative and positive. There we go. Now we can see what we got going on here. So looks like I gotta pop these out of here and then push them in there. All right, took a little bit of finagling, but we got it. So they're in there, and now we're set up where we're supposed to be. Now, because this is going to the CNC, it comes with a CNC plug. So this one goes in here, and this one goes over here. So I definitely need to make something here that holds all these wires up out of the way. Won't be the end of days, but it'd be nice to have these just kind of tucked up out of the way. This one, if I figure out something that can kind of hold, let it slide in and out across the side here, we'll figure it out. All right, we brought the Rover back in here, and I have my torch here. So this torch you have to order separate. It has all the pieces, parts that you need. We can set this up, put it in right here, and then my ground, I am going to just drill a small little hole right up here, unbolt this, I'm gonna bolt it in right there. That way it's grounded to this whole unit no matter what I'm using. Then we need to put some of that in here. Now we got the torch on, all I gotta do is feed the line through the track, then we can plug it into the plasma cutter. All right, so let's try that again. You guys okay? I got the torch line ran through. Now I'm just gonna go ahead and zip tie everything up together. That way it has some similarity, I guess, more than anything, or some symmetry. That's the word I'm looking for. With all of them together too, I think it'll help keep cords from pulling apart and other things like that as well. Oh yeah. And this has to be long enough to feed all the way across. So it has to be able to go through there, back and forth, and then feed all the way across here. So I'm gonna make sure I keep this whole line zip tied together at its full length, and then I'll get it tied up underneath where it's out of the way. We are getting close, and I am getting excited. I wanna torch some stuff. Fire! So I know I could just hook up to one of these holes, and I think everything would be fine. But if I ever have to replace them, then I have to unbolt it, where if I put it right here, then it can just stay there forever, and I can still replace those anytime I want. That's why I think I'm just gonna go ahead, put a hole in here, bolt it in, be done, and don't have to think about it again. Ow, stainless is hot. Ooh, that burns the flesh. Don't touch stainless steel. Wow. Give that a little snug up, we'll be good to go. All right, so we have everything together. I need to now put in the cutting fluid. One of the things I think I'm gonna try to find here for this line is, like, they got that hydraulic line protecting guard stuff. It's like a spiral. I can't remember what it's called, but I'll get some of that and throw it on here. That way when this thing moves back and forth and whatnot, I don't have to worry about it. This is concentrated. It's 5-to-1, so it's 5 gallons. If I pour a gallon of it in here, I need to pour 5 gallons of water in here directly after. Which is good. It means it's gonna last me a long time if I drain it and change it out regularly. Doesn't smell. Looks like slime though. Do the other side. Oh yeah. Woohoo! All right, 2.5 gallons of concentrate, 12.5 gallons of water. We are looking pretty darn good. You gotta hook up the air line. If you don't own a plasma cutter, it is important to know that you need to have dry air. So you need to have an air dryer on your compressor. Now, Eastwood's pretty cool because they have an air dryer in the actual plasma cutter as well. That's probably the best way to do it anyway, is have it doubled down like that. So with double dryers, this thing should cut like a boss. Now that everything's set up, one of the things that I also think I want to do eventually is make a dedicated airline to this unit. So something that maybe comes out and I can hook up, that's just its own like spool of air that I can just hook up, get to air, come back, and I'm done. I might just do something where I come out and then just have a connection right here on the back of the table. So then I can just take my air hose that's also an Eastwood spool actually, and then just come down, chuck it in, be ready to rock. Now this thing obviously does take up some space, but the cool thing about it is I've built these shelves underneath, so I have all the same storage underneath it. I can still store stuff on the floor underneath that. And if I still wanted to put some sort of shelving above it, I'm still okay to do that as well. The best thing about it is it's not one of those big heavy ones that's stuck to the ground. It's on casters, so I can move it around wherever I want in the shop. If I need to move it out of the way, it rolled really nice, even with all the weight on it. Yes, pressing a key. Oh man, look at that. I don't even know what half this stuff means. Let's see. Setups. Oh, it kind of knows where it is already. Look at that. See if it moves. So every time I move this, that's way steadier than my hand. Yeah, buddy. All right, so I am new to the CNC world. This is all new to me. So Eastwood Tools suggests that you use Fusion 360 to download for the operation settings of the machine to set up kind of what you want to cut. I have my buddy Alex here. He's local here to Farmington. His business is AK Manufacturing, and they do this kind of stuff for a living. So if you're looking to get stuff cut, looking to get stuff 3D printed, they do all kinds of crazy stuff. You need it, that's a guy to call. Check him out. He's gonna help me figure out how to use this. Look at all them pre-cut settings there. I can make some shock tabs without even having to measure shock tabs. Hit the button, let's see what it does. So we're having an arcing problem, 100% my fault. I can't do the letters, and I misread that. So this thing factory is set 50-1, which is exactly what this plasma cutter is set up for. So if you buy the Eastwood plasma cutter, you don't have to change this like I did. You can just leave it plugged in exactly the way it is. And now we'll have arc. So I was pretty sure I had a good ground with this. I went ahead and doubled down with a battery cable just to have a ground. I might just leave that anyway if there's ever like a rusty piece of material that I need to really get a good ground on. I can hook up to it across the board and I can leave it rolled up here. But I think we might have a chance now. Let's find out. Got a little quick. We could slow it down a little bit. This is a pretty thick piece of plate, but this is how you learn. So now we got a starting point. We can play with it a little bit. Eastwood has a nice schematic to give you a good heads up too, like kind of get you close so you can play with things. But other than that, I think that's pretty rad. And having the water table, it's not all smoky in here. All right, so it is a new morning. I spent most of the night last night playing on that Fusion 360. Unfortunately, Alex was able to show me some stuff on here. And let me explain what he was helping me with. He was getting all the settings lined up here, and all those are just to help with like where your torch sits while it cuts, how much you want to start with a pre-cut, and before it actually gets to the cutting point of what you're doing. Your kerf is like if you have a 3-inch piece and you want the 3-inch piece, it's going to cut on the outside. With that cut, if it takes up an 1/8-inch line or whatever, it's going to cut on the outside of that, so you still end up with that 3-inch piece. Just things like that. Now, one of the things that I had to learn, and we kind of had to cross-reference over, is everything in here is metric. So this system runs off of a metric system, which is fine, except as an American,
Two things: they didn't teach us the metric system, and secondly, the metric system never got us to the moon. So I have to learn those. I wish they would have taught us that, because I would like to have, it seems like it's honestly actually easier, but that was one of the things that we were working with, was all the conversions. My other only qualm is that the USB drive only accepts 16 gig or smaller thumb drives for plugging into it. So as I'm playing with it and creating designs, I can only put it on a 16 gig or smaller thumb drive for this computer to be able to read it. Not a big deal, and those are actually dirt cheap. Most 32 gigs are only $10. But I am going to show you guys a quick cut on how to do this with stuff that's already programmed in here, which I think is pretty cool. This thing is super easy to learn. I can move the torch over just like I want right here. If I want to just use this end piece, I can lower the torch tip to get close to where I want. I can make that my 0, and then in the designs they already have here, I can just choose whichever one I want to cut up. So let's say I do want to make a little tab. I'd go ahead and hit enter on 49. This tab is pretty large, so I'm going to change this down into a very smaller size, which is pretty easy. So you see size 1 is this shape, so that's 60. If I make it 15 and hit enter, now it shrunk it down, but it moved me to size 2, and now I've put the hole down, so now we got that shrunk down. Size 3, it's very self-explanatory, but I now have the exact same thing, just smaller. Turn the torch on here. So one of the things you'll probably have to play with is the cut speed, the depth of how high the torch sits, things like that. But once you put it in there, it's saved for that program. So whichever one you're going to use, like if you're going to make the same tab out of the same thickness, it'll save that. So then all you got to do is set 0 where you want it, and you can just cut a bunch of them. And then I'm going to say, cut me. Was that not super rad? Faster than I could make it by hand. It's cleaner than I can make it by hand. And if I was making a bunch of them, I could just set this thing up where it's just like punch, 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 and we're just running down here and just cutting it up. Now this thing will also save your settings. Like I said, if I put in files, it will save those files in there, and then I can just set and hit cut. So if I pull the file up, Colt's little tabby B, I'd click Colt's little tabby B. There it is. Cut, cut, cut. I can hang them on my wall, and now I have all of the tabs I need at that size. So I've spent the whole day just learning Fusion, watching tons of YouTube videos, and let me show you a few things. I want to cut my logo into this window. I want to make basically a sign, right? So I took my logo, loaded it into Fusion, but the things you just have to know are really simple stuff. So I have the total measurement of my window going this way and going this way. And all I wanted to do is take my radius out. So right here, this radius is about 1.5 inches out of here. If I were to follow this line to where it stops, to take the radius out, you put it in, you take 1.5 inches, and it takes 1.5 inches out of each side, and it should get it fairly close. Now, angles. If you guys have ever seen me bend tubing, then you know I use this thing quite a bit. This is just a little true angle, pretty simple. All I did here was hold it up, get it trued up, and then check this, and then that was 102 degrees. So it matched it both ways, and then that's how I got my shape. Now, let me take you over here and show you how I got it installed. Now, I had to learn how to take it into Fusion, run the actual, manipulate the actual CNC form so it actually cuts it out, and here is what we got. Bam, and you can see the window cut out and the whole logo. At this point, all I can do is try, right? But I did find my 16 gig thumb drive. They had those at Walmart. I got like 4 of them for $8. The file is a CNC file, so it loaded right in. Pretty simple setup. You come over here to files, you go to USB, you go down to the
file I have, which is Colt builds it window for Rover, final cut, hit enter, it's opening the file, and it's setting it up right now.
Okay, that's rad. Don't forget, if you guys want to build some cool stuff like this, you want to make some money, you can build some signs, you can do all kinds of stuff. This is a money-making tool, and this is by far the best bang for buck. It's about in the middle of the range, the price range, but you're going to get a top quality CNC plasma table. If you like this video, check these out. Also, don't forget, Colt builds 10. Anything on the Eastwood site, 10% off. So that's pretty rad as well. See you guys next time. Thanks for watching.
Right? That's what I'm talking about.